How you doing, folks? My name is David Mulligan, and I am the host of the Writers Bloc on Virtual Channel Network. Thanks for joining me. Today we are going to take a look at Oscar-nominated screenplay Inception by Christopher Nolan. If you don't know who Christopher Nolan is, he's a big boy. He's a big player. He did, of course, Batman Begins and The Dark Knight. He did Memento. He wrote those. Wow. What else do you need to say? He is a powerhouse, and he's made huge tentpole movies with his brother. And he's a great writer. He knows how to tell a story and bring the big guns to town. So let's take a look at Inception. And I like to take a look at it from the perspective of what if it was a spec script. Now, obviously, he wrote Inception, and he's already basking in 2 other Oscar nominations before this. Of course, this is Oscar nominated, big movies, and his brother's a big time director, and you know, on and on and on. So he's absolutely a great storyteller and a great writer. But coming at it from a spec writer's point of view, that is, you are nobody, or at least not known, and you want to write a story that really rocks the reader or the producer or the actor, whoever, and says, wow, you know what, this movie needs to be made. Can we get something from Christopher Nolan's writing, even though he writes from a perspective of whatever he writes is going to get read and is going to seriously get considered? I think we can. I think he does some things in here that we can benefit from and think about with our own writing to strengthen our writing, to make it more interesting, to make it more marketable. So let's take a look. All right. Something about this script, which is interesting. In another show, I also did The King's Speech, and The King's Speech was a very short script, 90 pages. That's it. I don't ever remember reading a script at 90 pages, a produced script, that is, at 90 pages. Very short, but it told a great story. However, in Inception's case, it's 146 pages, and it's solid. There's little white space. They give a lot of information, He's not terribly descriptive, not flowery, anything like that. He's very nuts and bolts. He gets right down to it. He's telling you what's happening, but he does it very efficiently, and he tells a very big story. But let's take a look at some of the things that he does. On the first page, it opens up, fade in, dawn, crashing surf. The waves toss a bearded man onto wet sand. He lies there. Now, this is the main character. And he's introduced him as a bearded man. But as we go through, as the story is being revealed, it changes, and he's revealed as Cobb. And that is that on the same page? No. Between thumb and forehead, he spins, spinning top. Elderly, moves in gracefully, elderly man stares, remembering. So, actually, Cobb is introduced in voiceover first, which is very interesting. But as the voiceover is saying, it says the speaker, Cobb, is 35, handsome, tailored. That's it. But it is interesting that he's only referred to as Cobb. I believe his first name is Dominic because everybody refers to him as Dom, right? But it's not even stated here, which is kind of interesting. But the story keeps moving, so it's okay. You don't have to give his full name, and he says is 35, which is fine. So I like, and something that you should consider, and he does it in other places here. You don't necessarily, when you first introduce your character, especially your main character, you don't actually have to give all the information up front. You can do, a little bit of finesse with describing him as a physical characteristic, and then giving more information later a name and stuff like that. Some readers like that, and certainly in this case, I kind of like that. If you just started it from the first shot, at least it gives me a little more to digest before I have all the information. let's go back to page 1. Let's go down halfway down the page. And let's talk about things in caps. A little bit different with other scripts, but Christopher Nolan, what he likes to do is he likes to put the important word in the sentence, that is, the important thing in that thought, in caps. For instance, as you look down, you'll see halfway down the page, he puts a handgun on the table. The elderly man keeps eating. And then you go down. The security guard places a small pewter cone alongside the gun. The elderly man stops eating, picks up the cone. So in those sentences, as you're telling the story, the handgun is important. It means something. But he doesn't stop eating. The small pewter cone means something. He stops eating. And the stops is connected to both the other two items, handgun and small pewter cone. Interesting. And he does that throughout this to punctuate. Now, in this day and age, you have the internet, and when you put something in caps, it's kind of like yelling. But here, I think he's consistent, and you can read down the page and see how he does it. Read the script and see how he does it. And I kind of like it. I don't know if I would use it myself, but maybe a little more than I used to. I use it very sparingly, if at all. If at all. I certainly don't do sound effects. It used to be that the things that were in caps were sound effects. The phone rings, the tires screech, that sort of thing. But in this case, he's not doing that. In this case, when you read a sentence, he's capitalizing the most important thing in that sentence, but he's also having a flow to it. Handgun, small pewter cone, stops. It all means something. It's all tied together. It's all part of the flow of the story and revealing to the reader what's going on. Because the small pewter cone is more important to the elderly man than the gun, which is very interesting, isn't it? So, read that. Take a look at it. It's cool. All right. Well, that about does it for today. Thank you for joining me. I hope you join me next time for Christopher Nolan's Inception.